Now I give the floor to the representative of St. Kitts and Nevis speaking on behalf of CARICOM. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleague Excellencies, very pleasant afternoon to all. I have the honor to speak on behalf of the 14 member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, on agenda items 142 and 149 regarding the scales of assessment for the United Nations regular and peacekeeping budgets. CARICOM fully aligns itself with the statements delivered by the distinguished representative of the Republic of Guinea on behalf of the Group of 77 and China. Mr. Chair, I wish to thank the chairperson of the Committee on Contributions, Ambassador Bernardo Greva, for introducing the report of the 81st session of the Committee on Contributions as contained in document A/76/11, as well as Mr. Chandru Ramanathan, Controller, for introducing the reports of the Secretary General on the implementation of General Assembly Resolutions 55/235 and 55/236 as contained in document A/76/296 and on multi-year payment plans as contained in the document A/76/70. Mr. Chair, the agenda items we are considering today bear significant relevance to CARICOM as they concern the means by which the organization is provided with adequate and predictable resources to implement its mandates. It is CARICOM's view that the financial stability of this august organization depends on the equitable participation of all member states in assuming the financial responsibilities associated with the execution of its mandates. In this connection, CARICOM underscores that the principle of capacity to pay should remain the fundamental criterion for the apportionment of the organization's expenses. It is our view that the core elements of the current methodology of the scale of assessments, such as base period, gross national income, conversion rates, low per capita income adjustments, gradient flow ceiling for least developed countries, and debt burden adjustment should remain unchanged, and that any proposal that would cause an increase in the share of contributions of developing countries should be rejected. Mr. Chair, CARICOM attaches particular importance to the financing of peacekeeping operations, as these operations are directly related to the core values of the organization, such as peace and security, human rights and dignity for all, and our collective responsibility to resolve threats to international peace in keeping with the principles enshrined in the UN Charter. With regard to the consideration of the scale of assessments for the peacekeeping operations budget, CARICOM shares the belief that all peacekeeping operations should be provided with adequate resources to facilitate the full and effective execution of their work. In this regard, CARICOM reiterates the special responsibilities of the permanent members of the Security Council, as reaffirmed by General Assembly Resolution 55/235, and maintains that the special circumstances of developing countries and the difficulties they face in meeting their financial obligations deserve special consideration. We also believe that the peacekeeping scale should continue to reflect the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities between developed and developing countries, giving due consideration to small island development states and countries with small populations that may have nominally high per capita income, which feeds a perception that they are wealthy countries. Therefore, the placement of developing countries above level C in the peacekeeping scale is not acceptable, as it fails to represent a fair and balanced treatment of the economic realities of member states. At present, one of our member states, the Bahamas, has been regrettably placed in level B, a level which should be reserved for developed countries. Additionally, the contributions of some of our member states have doubled. In this connection, we reiterate previous calls for corrective measures to be taken to restore the balance between developed and developing countries. We reaffirm that developing countries with small, trade-dependent and exceptionally vulnerable economies cannot and should not be expected to bear the same financial burden as our developed partners. This is the case for CARICOM countries that continue to grapple with the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as high levels of public debt, natural disasters, climate change, and other economic external shocks, all of which threaten to disrupt the fiscal policy of the governments. Mr. Chair, in closing, CARICOM wishes to assure you and other members of the committee that it will approach the negotiations on this and all other agenda items in a spirit of transparent and constructive engagement. May it please you, I thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the distinguished permanent representative of St. Kitts and Nevis